fucking joke.
Heartfelt.
No, how can you say that?
I'm a dumbass.
That means you're gay.
No, God, please, no.
A man and a woman.
I'm kind of retarded. You are fake news.
Negus.
I'm upset.
Be offended.
Do you love black people?
You ain't black.
I don't care.
Shawn Cav.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
How about new? Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Try to relax your anus.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Come on, man. What is it, your period? Oh, ring shot.
Five, four, three, two, one.
What's up, all you crazy capitalists, you witty whiskey enthusiasts? Welcome to the Whiskey Capitalist podcast. I'm Ian.
And I'm Shawn.
And make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, and comment down below. Go to, let me see, where is it? solo.to / the Whiskey Capitalist for all of our links and ways to stay up to date with us. Go to bit.ly / the Whiskey Capitalist merch to check out our fully stacked merch store. And also, if you didn't notice, we have a guest. We have a guest this week. What's going on, Steve? It's Steve Lynch, you guys.
What's up, guys? How are you tonight? Your intro is awesome, by the way. I was cracking up about every 10 seconds. That's great.
It's funny. You can see down in the back of the page, and you cracking up, and I was like, yes, this is good.
Yeah, it was good. Every now and again, like, one hole would pop it. It was good stuff. It was good stuff.
Yes. It's always good. And I think it'll be like a test of whoever we have on the show, too. Like, if they can laugh. Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
If you can laugh during that intro, and what you laugh at is going to make like, I don't know. I think it's a little psychological trick for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Steve, you're an elected official with the Northampton County Republican Committee and whatnot. You previously ran for executive, Northampton County executive, and you're the 20 strong men guy. I mean, like that's
I ran for Northampton really County executive last year in the 2021 election. Yes.
Right. And, a few things that we're going to end up talking about today, because I have questions about how you ran for office and like what kind of got you into like doing politics. And now like you're kind of doing a lot more like commentary and whatnot. I hope he's still with us. Looks like he's kind of like I got the circle of death for him.
Yeah. So real quick, while Steve is going through some technical issues. We are going to speak to Steve about his experience with politics and what kind of set him off, and what started him in that, and what was going on, and with school boards and all that shit. We're gonna kind of bring that up. We're gonna bring up because you were there during J6, correct?
Yes, I was. Yes,
okay,
I was.
So,
I was down there. Yep.
And that right there, I want to get into it for sure. But I do want to. I just want to say I'm very excited to speak to you about that because me personally, and I don't know about you, Shawn, but all I've heard is just from what media or what people on Twitter, someone is saying. So it'll be very interesting for me personally to hear some sort of an account personally of someone that was there. So that.
Well, the one thing I always have an interest in when it comes to like that topic in particular is because you see like very differentiating stories when it comes down to it, where there's people who attended and it was like, oh, it was a really peaceful, great rally during like the actual Trump speech and then whatnot, and then you see like all the footage from like the committee footage and whatnot when they were really trying to like incriminate like Trump and whatnot as like instigating for violence and this and that and all that type of stuff. But like and it just feels like two totally different events occurred, and I wanted to get more of information, even like how like things may have transpired from one to the next.
So
well, I can I won't get into it now, but I can tell you guys, I can give you everything. I was down there for 2 nights, 3 days. I stayed over from the 5th to the 6th to the 7th. I have timestamps. I have Facebook Lives. I have a memory like an elephant. It's all up here. The stuff I'll give you today are facts. It's not conjecture. It's first eyewitness account. I have lives. I did multiple Facebook Lives recording everything after the fact. So you buckle up because I can give you every minute detail.
That's great.
I'm super excited about that. Yep. We also are going to be speaking about the Twitter files. And what has been coming out lately. Just want to get kind of your opinion on it. And just what we do with any guest, we're going to just talk about dumb shit that's in the news and get takes on it, because that's what we do, because we're jackasses. All right.
I love it. Let's do it.
So make sure you like I said earlier, make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, and comment down below. If there's anything you want to ask Steve or you anything you want an opinion on, make sure you leave it down below. But with that, here we go, guys.
Who else in the leprechaun say yeah?
Look at that big, juicy booty.
Hot like a tamale.
Be offended. Do you love black people? Negro.
You know the thing.
Here, next.
Don't be rude. You ain't black.
Shawn Cav.
You're going to have a flame coming out of your butthole.
Heartfelt.
A man and a woman.
It's a little bit of a different feel than doing the Stu Peters thing right before this, right?
It is a little bit different, but I got to tell you, I haven't laughed this hard in a while, so I really appreciate it. That's some good clips, guys. Those are great.
Thank you so much. It literally took, we're on like episode 38 right now. It literally took to maybe episode 25 to where I wasn't almost doing a spit take while that intro was going on.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
Fucking great. But yeah, it's like the countdown is like a bigger version of the
random stuff. That's the beautiful thing. It's just random stuff that pops up. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. This is hilarious. It's really well done. Good job. Good job.
I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it. I put in that leprechaun video at the very beginning. That, like, I don't know why that sticks with me from like decades. I'm like
classic for sure. I think every like March 17th it always pops up like, oh, you hear about that leprechaun video? It's like, yeah, that thing's like 10 15 years old now, but it's leprechaun saying yay.
Oh, they're funny. Okay, so yeah, did you want to start off, Shawn? You got some?
Yeah, sure. Well, like I mean, like just to kind of like get right out the gate, like when it came down to like getting into politics and whatnot, like what was your like main motivation for that? Because I mean, like you're currently on the state committee and whatnot,
correct,
or the Northampton County Republican Committee, and since then, like, well, before that, like what kind of like forced you into this? Like, cause I feel like it was a calling for you, right? Like that's my impression of it.
The interesting thing is it's honestly, people have been coming at me to go into politics for the past 2 decades. That's the God's honest truth. What ended up happening was in 2020. I ended up working for a congressional candidate, Lisa Scheller, who's a very good friend of mine. She was a client. That's how I knew her. I knew her. My background is in fitness. She was one of my clients. I knew her for probably 6 to 8 months before she even decided to run. So her and my relationship had nothing to do with politics, really. But at some point, she had mentioned to me that she was thinking about running for Congress. And I was like, great, I'll support my people, support my clients. I said, that's fantastic. And as her election unfolded, I was always heavily involved, very opinionated in the way I think and what I believe. And I'm just not shy from holding those things back. And when her race was unfolding, they needed some help. I actually just said, look, what can I do to help? If there's anything I can do to help, I'd like to come in and help you out. Well, I ended up being her field director for the last 90 days of her 2020 race. And watching that race unfold and getting heavily involved in that race, my job specifically was to take the candidate throughout the entire district, book appointments, get people there. That was what I did. That was basically my job for 90 days. And that campaign, we really ran a really solid campaign. That was at the height of COVID. It was very bizarre way to run a campaign. Typically, you're out knocking on doors. You weren't doing that, but it was modified. It was just very, very strange. But on election night, she won. By midnight, we were up by over 30,000 votes on election night. We were all out as a team, the office, on Thursday, which was 2 days later, when the votes flipped. Now, keep in mind, we knew mail-ins still were going to come in, which is unconstitutional. We knew the mail-ins were going to still come in. And we never announced victory, right? Even up 30,000 votes, even for 2 days. The moment that those votes changed, Susan Wild got on the media within an hour and claimed the victory. So,
well, when it comes to those mail-ins, we've been seeing the issue with the vote flipping constantly when it comes down to that. And I think everybody's got a gripe with it to some degree, whether it's unconstitutional, the fact it's happening after the actual election day. Right. It's how hard is it if you're going to do a mail-in, which absentee ballots have existed for ages.
Absolutely. And they work.
Yeah, and that's a legitimate thing. Yeah, but it has to be submitted in
You need an excuse. There's
a couple things on that for me. For one, I think Crowder said it best when he said, if you are doing early voting, why don't you do early counting? Why do you have to wait until fucking Friday to...
Well, we know why, right? I know it's a rhetorical statement, right? We know why.
We all know.
Yes, agreed.
Remember the allegedly thing that we were talking about before the show?
Right.
Yeah, it falls under one of those things.
Correct.
And then also, to me, I think with me, there's a nuance in everything. And I think Shawn would understand that I argue that nuance to no end between the two of us about certain things. But I think there's nuance in it. I think that the mail-ins, if done right, can be beneficial for some people that can't get into vote. There's elderly people, there's disabled people, anyone that would vote.
That would fall under an excuse.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, to that point, I don't think you're wrong, but you have to do it like the absentee way.
Exactly.
If you're older, right?
That's what I'm saying. I think that there's something that's right about it. It's just it's the reason why we have laws for shit. Because should we obviously we shouldn't murder people. Obviously we shouldn't steal from people. Obviously we shouldn't do this. But we have fucking dingleberries in our goddamn society, so that's why we need to make laws about it. It's that's why there's welfare and food stamps and all that stuff. They are good to help. They are good to help for people, but you need to get off of them. It's like a temp
and not abuse it.
I think in Texas it's called TANF, and it's temporary assistance for needy families. The key word is temporary,
right?
And I think food stamps and welfare are a good system for temporary assistance. Just like I think there are good aspects of mail-in voting if they are done correctly and not.
Yeah, because again, just to kind of jump on you right there, Ian. When it comes to the food stamps and whatnot, it's meant to get you back onto your feet. It's never meant to be a system of sustainability where people just live off of these things.
Yeah.
Well, I think to those points, the other problem is, and this is where I come from. Even with that, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think welfare can serve a purpose. I think medical care can also, all these things can serve a purpose. The problem is who's overseeing it.
Exactly.
And it's the government.
Yeah.
And the government is untrustworthy. The government is also, we know what they're doing. They're just buying stuff up, right? I mean, look at what happened with the $10,000 student loan that he knew was unconstitutional, knew it wasn't going to pass. And you got Gen Zs going out there and voting because of, that was one of the reasons why they went out and specifically voted, because of the hand. And, we're also breeding into society, a handout society. I work hard at what I specifically do. And I leave what I do on a daily basis, and I love it. I love looking back and be able to see what I specifically accomplished that day. You don't get that living off the system. You don't get it. And we're actually robbing people of human dignity by doing these things. Handouts don't get you anywhere. They're not. And the government it's never a hand up. It's a handout. It's all socialism is what they push for. All this utopia nonsense is bringing everybody down to be equally miserable. It's never about elevating people. It's about bringing people down so they can be equally miserable and easily controlled.
Yeah, no, and I think you hit a strong point with that one, Steve, where you're talking about like just making everyone equal. It's never about bringing everyone up to be equal. It's about bringing everyone to a certain level to where it's controllable, essentially, because
manageable. Exactly.
The whole essentially the name behind the Whiskey Capitalist was a play on the words for champagne socialists. For the fact that they want to have they think socialism works, but they're the ones drinking the champagne while everybody else is drinking river water.
Well,
correct.
Well, they think that socialism can work because obviously history hasn't yet. But if they get a hold of it, then it'll work.
Yeah, their form of it.
This next time, guys, this is the one.
You know what the definition of insanity is, right?
Century upon century upon century upon century shows.
Yeah. The last guys didn't I know they murdered millions of people, but I'm not going to do that. It's the definition of insanity, right? It's going down the same path. It's a rat going down the same tunnel, expecting to fucking find cheese at the end of it.
Right.
Not the way it works, dickhead. Come on.
Yep. No, it's true. It's true. And it is kind of it's maddening when you have common sense and critical thinking. You can sit back and look at these things for what they are. And you're sitting there looking at humanity and thinking, how do you not get this? I really don't understand you get it. And to that point, though, we cannot discount the power of propaganda, the power of being indoctrinated, because the power of what's happening in our school systems. I mean, you guys know this. I spent a lot of my time with these school boards, and I said this earlier on Stu Show. I've been homeschooling my kids well before COVID. Mm-hmm. I had no benefit. What I was doing in these school boards didn't benefit me or my kids in any way, shape, or form. And the thing that I got frustrated with, one of the things when I called on the 20 Strong Men, I talked about this earlier, is the fact that, men, where are you? I'm here in the school boards fighting for your kids' right to breathe, and you're not even showing up to the meetings.
Yeah, and actually, I wanted to comment on your 20 Strong Men thing. I think that gets taken out of context in a lot of different situations. I mean, think about just how viral the thing went when everyone just assumed you were calling for violence. And if you read into it in that context, it sounds like it's something all right, we're going to actually physically throw these guys out. But when you're talking about strong men, it's a matter of not physically strong, but mentally strong. You hold your convictions and whatnot.
Correct.
And when you're doing that, at least that's the way I interpreted it. And just that alone is okay, so you don't have to be a tough guy. You don't have to be built like Steve Lynch. You can go and be a fat ass and go to your school board and be like, hey, why is this BLM book in my kid's library? I don't like this shit. And that alone is enough to sometimes make them quiver enough to be like, okay, well, we wanted to try this, but apparently, there's some parents that aren't fans of it. And actually, I've seen some of that stuff even in my kid's school, and she's only in kindergarten now. And I'm like, because she didn't bring the book home, thank goodness, but one of her friends, in another class, the parents texted me photos of. I actually shared it on my Twitter a while back. Of pages from the book itself, and I was like, this is just indoctrinating for activists. At the kindergarten level, I'm like, did your kid pick this, or did the teacher guide her to this section to go and get this book? There's a lot of questions when it comes to that, and you may never get the answer, but at least you're asking the question.
To me, it's the left always uses the the reason why, they don't like, gays or trans or this or that is because they're scared of what they don't know, blah, blah, blah. It's okay, well, you're doing the same thing by to people like you, Steve, or like other people say it like, oh, we're just going to label him as an extremist or label him as this because they're scared of what they don't understand. They don't understand what being a strong man is. They don't understand about having these values and all that stuff. So it's like, dude, you're doing the same shit. Like, come on.
Isn't this the fascinating thing? I'll be speaking for myself here on what you guys are talking about. What I'm a radical with is liberty. And it's not black or white, male or female, gay, straight, trans. It's not, there's no like gender liberty. There's no race liberty. It's liberty.
Yep.
What we propose is that you should be able to run your life. And by the way, you're gay, you're trans. I think you should have the right to do that. Now, I'm a God-fearing man. Do I believe that certain lifestyles and things that we do in life could ultimately lead from separation from God and sin? Absolutely, I do. But that's not for me. That's for you to deal with God. You can do whatever you want. But when you start grooming kids, when you start mutilating 5-year-olds because you want to play a social experiment, because we know what you're trying to do is depopulate the world, and what better way to do it than to get people to literally not be able to reproduce by their own actions and start chopping off their body parts. When that kind of stuff goes on in this world, in this country, this is where, like, you hear all the time, oh, what do they say? The world will unite around when kids get gone after. They're doing it. Look at what they've been doing over these past 2 years. They're going after the kids.
And one of the things I'd say is, like, before, when it came to like gender dysphoria, it was treated like medically, like there was like, actual medications and therapy and whatnot. They actually diagnosed it. Now it's considered like stunning and brave. And then they actually put it up on a pedestal and they encourage it. And then other children, which are very impressionable at such young ages, they see the attention and like the praise that other people are getting for not being talented or having like a skill that's like, sets them apart from the rest, like that bell curve of everything. Like they're none of that, but like they're being praised for just kind of like being different like that in that sense. So they want to go, they want to be a part of that. They also want to get that same type of a praise. So it's a confidence issue for our children, and just like, trying to instill like those morals into them of just like right and wrong, understanding, like when something's not right, or something does it just, there's so many elements to it that I think just refers back to just good parenting and being there talking to your kids about what's right and what's wrong.
I'm going to make a comment on that because this actually was something that shocked me, and I think it may shock you as well. Let's talk about grooming and what's happening to these kids in school. So I have a very good friend, very close friend of mine. Her daughter, I think at the time, was about 15 years old. She was in the public school system, and this was going through the height of COVID and all this stuff going on. They're grooming everything. She comes home to her, the daughter comes home to the mom the one day, and she says, "Listen, I'm gay." Her mom goes, "No, you're not." "No, I'm gay." And she literally just said, "No, you're not." And then the daughter goes, "Well, I'm at least bi." She goes, "No, you're not." That conversation ended. She pulled her kid from the school. Okay. A year and a half after the kid was out of school and now homeschooled, comes back to her mom. She goes, "You know what? I'm not gay." And she goes, "I know you weren't." And it was the first time, and I know these these women very well. They're amazing women. She's an amazing young lady and an amazing mom. We cannot, like, I always thought without a shadow of a doubt, the only way you could be gay is you're born that way, right? I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, I was like, because I knew I was straight always. I was so straight. I was like, we cannot discount the level of indoctrination that is going on with these kids. This young lady literally thought that she was gay because of peer pressure and everything else that's going on in that school. Probably would have gone down that path. Just my daughter, my sister, when we were in high school, she was a tomboy, great athlete. She ended up going to Kent State and was a field hockey player. She was the goalie there. She was a tomboy. God knows what would have had. Now, granted, my father would never let it happen, but the amount of indoctrination she would have got, she would have probably been confused too.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous because my wife, she said when she was growing up, she was a tomboy too. Like her mom, like when she got into high school, her mom was like, "Okay, you're gonna start wearing skirts and you're gonna start wearing like these things." You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I heard, I forgot exactly who it was, but someone was saying if my daughter or my son came home from school and said, "I'm trans" or "I'm gay" or anything like this, like it would be a conversation. It wouldn't be like I wouldn't just affirm what they're saying because like, 2 years ago
Absolutely.
they thought they were a unicorn. You know what I mean? Like so
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So I can't speak from that position, but at the same time, it's like have a conversation, say why. What why do you feel this is your
Absolutely.
this is
I mean, the
right
parenting it starts with parenting.
Yeah. But I think that's it's a far gone conclusion at this point. Like I don't think parenting is, because you tie your hands in a lot of stuff. Like I know that I'm late on this, and I know that Shawn and I had an extensive conversation about this earlier this morning, but I just finished watching The Sopranos and finally watched the whole fucking show. And there's a lot to be said about parenting in that, because you can see how Tony Soprano, he's struggling with this, like, I need to parent by having a, like an iron fist. I need to he's like, dude, I'm going to slap AJ around because he fucking needs it. And then mom is fucking coddling him. And I think that there's so many, not saying that parents should beat their kids. I am not saying that at all, but I am saying that I think it goes a little too far when there's like a mama's boy and like, not like, hey dude, fucking act right. You know what I mean? And I think that is what's happened a lot in our society.
Yeah, well, I mean, like personally, when it comes down to like the Sopranos thing for me, it's Tony was raised in a different generation, and then he wanted to provide for his kids. His kids got everything handed to him. There was no meritocracy, and therefore they became spoiled brats. And he tried to smack them around to be able to straighten them out or whatever.
Yeah.
Why don't we do some comments? I think Steve might be frozen.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, we have am I at a rave? Yes, we decided we were going to give all of our listeners and viewers E. We forgot to hand that out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Welcome, Steve. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. By the way, your beard game is strong.
Oh yeah.
Sup, Dad? How you doing?
Yeah, and guys, we will get to all the comments and whatnot. We're like when we're doing these conversations and whatnot, especially with the guests, we want to make sure that we take the time to go the whole length of the conversation, and we take little breaks and we'll do the comments.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And it looks like Steve
peaced out.
I think my dad triggered him, saying, "Hey, you guys,
how dare you gender me?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm out just because I have a beard. All right,
you're back, buddy.
Were you good?
Yeah, we're
right,
good.
cool.
Yeah, no, I was like, so then now we're just going through some comments here of everyone chiming in and what they got to say too.
Sweet.
Nice.
So my dad has.
You were talking about.
Well, no, we're just reading some comments through real quick. We try and take a little break, through conversations every once in a while. Have the audience feel like they're a part of it a little. So
absolutely.
The right has to start playing the Democrat game of
harvesting ballots.
There we go. Otherwise, we will continue to lose elections. And I do agree to an extent, but it's one of those things where it's like, at what point do you not do you play the game? Because that's obviously the game that's been winning, or do you not play the game? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because, I think that is a problem of the right, is that we don't, we're always on the defensive. We always defend ourselves against what the left is doing instead of figuring out a way to throw out the first blow. You know what I mean? Like it's because we have moral.
The right will typically be on the defense for most things, and then like the left is just constantly offensive with a lot of their tactics, and then like the right never really like makes a stab back or nothing like that. There's never the retaliation, which I mean, like that's like the moral high ground, but I don't know. It's politics. It gets dirty.
You lose that way though. And this is guerrilla warfare, and that's what people need to understand.
Yeah.
With people like this, and I'm going to say this figuratively, so you can't, the people watching it can't say, the saying is you got to get smacked in the mouth, right? You cannot allow these things to come at you. You guys have watched me. Like, I do offense. I don't do defense. And the conservatives, patriots need to play this specific way. If you don't, you lose. That's it. When you identify an enemy, because they have nothing. First of all, they're weak, physically, mentally, spiritually. They're weak human beings.
Yeah.
Beyond that, once you basically put them in their place, I have these arguments with people all the time. They immediately name call you, and then they just basically go away because they have nothing. There's no truth in their hearts. There just isn't, because they're operating off of emotion. There's no logic to what they're doing. I mean, take something as broad as the Green New Deal. Completely illogical. You cannot make it happen, and it doesn't need to happen. I mean, they want to take skyscrapers down and replace them because of windows and all this, just cow farts and everything else that they talk about, which is ludicrous. And all it is a money grab. It's nothing more than a money grab. Climate change, all this stuff, it's all a money grab. And it is mind-blowing to me that people cannot see past the point that the government is completely corrupt. It's a syndicate. It's a cabal crime syndicate. They're run by, and they're not even calling the shots. I mean, the shots are being called by people you don't even know their names. That's who's calling the shots. And all we have is puppeteered, or I should say puppets.
It's funny because the Green New Deal. I think the Green New Deal is maybe like
my answer has been this. We kind of talked a little bit. You were asking.
Oh, we got to freeze up again.
Freeze up. Oh man.
Yeah, it's
running for office. Why I ran for office.
Yeah,
I ran for office. I explained to you how I kind of really got entrenched in. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. You guys good? You hear me okay?
Yeah, we got a little bit of a freeze up for a second. So
we got you back now.
So I ran.
I think it's delayed. This happens sometimes to you a little bit, Shawn. Whatever
I ran for office.
Steve, why don't you try reconnecting? We're gonna go through some more comments, I think, here, because we got a bunch. We got a bunch of comments.
I ran for office in 21, specifically because when I saw what happened in 2020. Yeah, when I saw what happened in 2020, I was asked during that race in 2020, you got to run for something. When are you going to run for something? I took some time. I talked to some political consultants. We looked at the executive position. That was in December. I announced in January. The main reason I decided to run was I knew we had election issues. Okay, be very bold, be very broad. We had election issues. I had concerns with the election. In 21, when I ran, I knew, I said, look, I have to do this, and here's why. If somebody else runs, and maybe it's someone I really like and I support, and I think that their message is great, there's no way they're going to stand up to the scrutiny. They're probably going to cave at some point, and then if they lose, I would be stuck sitting there thinking, well, they lost because they weren't bold enough the whole way through. They weren't willing to do what was necessary and say what was necessary. So that's why I ran. Because I wanted to go through an entire process. I knew I wasn't going to stop. I knew I wasn't going to back down. I knew I wasn't going to change my message. I just was going to get more and more bold. And I was using that platform as a pulpit to preach liberty. That's all I cared about. And then we all saw what happened in 21 and 20. We saw what happened in 22. We have, again, some concerns with what's going on. But what I realized in 21 is these elections, okay, we have to, here's what I can't figure out. How is this wanting to take a look at things? Auditing, right? You used to hear people, and it was a bipartisan thing. We need to audit the Fed. Audit the Fed, audit the Fed.
Yeah.
Why is that a partisan issue? Why do you not want to look behind the curtain and actually see what's going on? When I was running in 21, well before the election even took place, I said, I'm already committed. I don't care if I win by 10,000 votes. We're auditing the county. I ran on audit Norco. We were going to audit everything. I was going to have you peek behind the curtain with everything, every budget, every little detail. I wanted to find out where every penny was going. How is that a partisan issue?
It's crazy how some of these things got taken out of context, and when it came to you're running against McClure, and he didn't even debate you. He didn't even.
I asked for 3 debates. He's a coward.
And I was kind of surprised by that, and it's something that we're seeing even currently now too, because we saw that with Carrie Lake and Hobbs, Katie Hobbs. She would not debate.
Josh Shapiro.
Wouldn't go for it, and it's just so surprising to me that this is what we're dealing with. I know Doug was trying to get any kind of debate he could with Josh Shapiro, but what can you do? Like, and then they end up winning.
And then they end up
when it
winning,
comes to the,
which is
the
weird,
mail-ins.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
the
little bit
mail-ins.
weird.
Okay,
that
I need to address something real quick. So, Jen's in our chat. I'm sorry, I did not mean to block you. You put the same message as all these X girls, XYZ commenters or whatever we're putting up. So I just saw it and I was like, block. Sorry, dude. That's my fault.
I saw that. I saw that. I just sent you that message, and I was like, "Oh, dude, no! Why'd you block Jen's?"
Yeah, sometimes we get these stupid little comments when some bot got a hold of our channel, and I saw it and I was just like, oh, block, 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 and then oh shit. Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
I'm sure Jen's won't mind.
Movies, yes, it is that
he's back anyway.
Pennsylvania Fetterman internet again. Yes, I yes.
Well, listen, I don't know if you guys experience this a lot. Anytime I get on lives and stuff, the reception tends to not do so well. So if it has anything to do with me, I apologize in advance.
Oh, you're good. We have to deal with Sean's internet on a weekly basis, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've just recently got it a little bit better, but like, yeah, I don't want to even say it's much better because I'm just going to give myself a little bit.
Fetterman is making Pennsylvania, great again.
Well, he should have just ran on Wi-Fi, and then like therefore it would have been like everyone would be like, "Yeah, this is our guy."
Wait,
it's unbelievable.
Hold on,
hey, I will listen. I'll give him credit. He showed up at the debate. His wife doesn't love him. No woman can love you, and that was one debate that I like. If they didn't do, I would have totally understood that because you're watching this guy speak. And I even told people, I said, look, it's not going to matter. It's October 25th. You're already going to have 30-some days of early voting. People are going to vote. And it didn't even matter because I forget what guy it was. He did a man on the street after the friggin' debate. And people, he was approaching people and he was asking about the fact, hey, did you know that so-and-so went up to a black man, an unarmed jogger, then stuck a shotgun in his chest? And you watch this woman over like a 2-minute span talking to this person go from that's really a problem to like, oh, you know what? Not a big deal because it was her guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was her guy. And
a lot of people ignored that fact. Like I talked to several people and they all just kind of like, well, that's only coming from the victim story. Oh, so now you don't believe the victim?
Nope.
So
I thought you believe all victims and all women and everything else.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's like, oh, so like you're gonna flip that story now on us, where like now you don't trust the victim. Well, wait a minute. The victim can just pull the black card, and like now it's like, are you still not gonna believe him? And like it's like this is just insane that was happening. And then that debate was almost comical. It was.
Do you love black people?
it was just comical. And especially when it got to
comical.
When it came to like the fracking comment, oh my god! It's like well, it says here in 2018.
I support fracking.
So it says here in 2018, I will never frack. I hate fracking. All fracking is evil. Well, I never said that.
But you did. But you did.
I am completely convinced by both of your internets going out that Fetterman, since he's taken over or won, that all of the internet is going through his neck bulge.
The neck bulge.
Yes,
he's got like bolts. Quado, whatever the guy's that attacked him from Total Recall is on his. He's got it on his neck.
Okay, one question.
Quado.
What the fuck is up with all of his pictures being like this?
Well, I pointed that out last time. Like,
we're an Indian from South Park. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I think
the fucker.
Yeah, I think that's like a joke. Yeah. Like that had to have been a joke on her Instagram because it's on his wife's Instagram. It's where like some kind of inside joke for them. Like, look how tall my man is, and everything's always just this. Half the head's cut off.
Well, the picture outside of his office. Remember, she was taking the picture next to his name sign, and he was like 3 feet off to the side. I'm like, yeah, we know who the senator is going to be. It's not going to be John.
Yeah,
these guys got handlers. Or what? Like Clinton, Hillary was Bill's handler. They all got handlers.
Like I wasn't a fan of Oz by any means, but like this is like an obvious choice for me of just like, and it wasn't even like I hate picking on the guy for having a stroke because I think like, strokes are pretty serious, and when it comes down to like a medical issue, because I mean, like I think basically everybody besides like my mom at this point has had strokes in their life, and like it's just insane that like, it's so common and it changes you so much. And some people are like, oh, well, he got cleared for work, so it's fine. Like, wait a minute. He got cleared for work because he could talk, he could see, and like, like that doesn't mean that he's all okay in there. Like something's not working.
And he can't even do that.
Right. When it came to the auditory.
Do that. I mean, he needed a teleprompter. How the hell in God's name are you going to debate on the Senate floor when you had one person next to you and the teleprompter? Like there's no, he can't do his job, and they know that anyway. They just want the rubber stamp vote. Isn't it funny though that Sinema left the Democrat Party? How funny is that? They had the majority, now they don't. They're back to 50 votes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they're back to 50. She is not no, it doesn't mean that she won't vote with the Democrats at times, but they literally lost. They need Kamala Harris to break the tie if she doesn't vote party like her old party line.
I think that's kind of
that's a fact.
Issue. I think it's kind of an issue that comes up. A lot of people a lot of people on the right. That's one of the issues that I do have with the right is that they take these symbolic things like cinema not being, and I'm not saying that there isn't props to go towards people that are doing these things, but they like take and they say like Elon Musk is, now he's conservative, which like, yeah, he said he would vote for DeSantis. He said he would, do these certain things, and he's doing things that can help out, conservatives, but not really. He's just making the playing field like level. And so I think that a lot of conservatives take these small little things, which is understandable because it's not like we get a shit ton of good media coverage, all these things. But I think we take these small victories and we make them these huge big deals. It's like, no, cool. I'm glad you came to the party, but I got other fucking people that I got to worry about too now. You know what I mean?
No, there's no doubt about that. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and I'll even agree where it's like, I don't fully trust Elon. Now, like the thing is, like, I think he's done a lot of good. And I think like, he's somebody that, being a lifetime Democrat, now first time voting Republican, that you take that as a win if you want, but I don't think it should be a matter of like, which party he's voting for. What he's doing is he's kind of like you're saying, Ian, leveling out the playing field for Twitter, which is, the world's town square, as it keeps on being referred to as. So like, that alone shows that he's for liberty. He's for the fact that he wants everyone to have that First Amendment right. And, everyone should be represented.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm with, go ahead, good.
No. You're good. You're the guest. I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Like my when I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine specifically on Elon Musk, I said, look, there's a lot that I don't agree with, like the AI stuff, the transhumanism, like that is I'm not in. That's not me. But you have to look at what these individuals are doing. So if like what Elon is doing with Twitter, he's created free speech over there. I go on there. I'm still so trained from Facebook to not do stuff and write certain ways of code that I go on there and I'm like, oh, I'm not getting kicked off the platform. It's pretty interesting. So I'm grateful that he's actually doing what he said he was going to do. That we talked about it before. I know we're going to get into the Twitter files and what they're dumping, and how genius of him to use a Democrat operative, that Matt Taibbi guy who hates Trump, by the way. The guy he used to leak the information hates Trump. He's an anti-never Trumper. So he used the guy that literally couldn't be brought back and said, well, yeah, it's just because he's a conservative. He's not. I mean, that was another fascinating, very smart move on his part to not him leak it. He went through this guy Taibbi. So, he's doing some good stuff there. Well, and if he does some bad stuff, we need to call him. It's the same thing with Trump. I kept telling people, like, you cannot, I said, you do the same with Trump that you complained about people with Barack Obama and idolizing and lionizing to a person to the point where they're like reach God status. You can't do that. When Trump did the whole thing with the Fauci ouchies, I was on him like white on rice.
Oh yeah.
I was like, nope, dude, you call yourself the father of this nonsense? That's absolutely bad news, like bad news. But I got backlash from people that were Trump supporters. I said, what's wrong with you? I said, do you believe with what he's doing? Well, no. But then call him out. I said, did you by any chance think that if maybe we gave him more blowback, that he wouldn't have done this? The guy didn't get any blowback because of this. And then look at where we're at now with all this stuff. And they're like, oh, well, that's a point. I'm like, yeah, it's a point.
I mean, it's a strong point because, like, I'm the same way. Because, like, everyone kept on giving, Biden credit for the vaccines. Where it's like, well, like, Trump was the guy who kind of like first put him out there.
Absolutely.
And, like, if you're not into the getting like the vaccines and all that type of stuff, like the Fauci ouchie and all that stuff that, and then like, that creates like another like little subsect in the division within like the right, but that's okay because that's like, you're calling each other out. Like, all right, I don't really buy into this. I'm not going to go that route. You don't have to.
Right.
But it's weird. Right. It's weird. It's almost like you can like someone even though you disagree with them about something. It's
absolutely
weird. I know that that's a fucking foreign concept in today's society, but
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
And getting back to Elon real quick, I'm very excited that he is starting to understand because he's obviously a smart dude. He's an autist for sure. There's no way he does not have a little bit of autism. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's a fucking fact. But what I will say is, okay, when you red pill someone and they start finally seeing all this shit that's been going on and it like kind of, breaks that barrier, that glass. And then it's a fucking snowball. And then they just start seeing all this shit. That's what I think is going on with Elon. And it's always great. It's always great because then you like have something to talk about. You have like, they'll push all these ideas and you're like, holy shit, I didn't even fucking think about that. And then, but it's like that with like a billionaire who can do shit. So like, I will give him fuck yes. He is the dude that we need to fucking like start talking about shit because he can't.
It's like an autistic Bruce Wayne.
But yeah, I think we should get into, let's read a couple of comments real quick. It looks like Steve, you froze up a little bit. Maybe you want to pop back in. But while we're doing that, while you're doing that, we'll read some comments. Trevor, what's up, dude? Corrupt government. Hold up.
Right.
This is me. Let me see. It's that. Yep. We went over that one.
Internet.
Yeah. But if Trump even whispered the word gun within 3 miles of black guy, liberals would be screeching. Definitely true. Of course, Fetterman can throw on his cornholio hoodie and chase down black guys with a shotgun, and he gets a pass.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Right.
If I were to do it, oh my gosh, forget it. Forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget it.
But let me see. How about them Twitter files? I think that might be a good thing to get into.
Sure, we can talk about the Twitter files.
All right. So
I just had like maybe like one more question concerning like with your election then, Steve. Like so
yes,
it's probably something that you never really talk about is like and for probably good reason, just kind of keeping like your family life separate and all that type of stuff. But like,
sure.
How did this affect you on like a personal level, like with like getting attacked from like the left when it came to like the viral videos and like just like the campaign ads like against you and whatnot, because they kept on trying to throw J6 at you all the time.
Yep.
I mean, like I remember getting the mailers because like I'm in Northampton County as well. And, like, I was getting the mailers and like I was showing my wife like, oh, check out, I got another one. And, like
I came every week, man, for like 10 weeks straight.
Yeah.
How did it make me? I laughed at them hard. These people are so pathetic to me. I'll tell you. I will tell you this. The one thing that really, I'll give you some numbers on this too, because this is pretty wild. So I spoke in Harrisburg at the 20 Strong Men speech, right? I got home from Harrisburg by about 7 o'clock. We had like a dinner and got home. I went to bed. I woke up the next day. By noon, the clip, and what ended up happening was there was this attorney who was a leftist whack job, and his literal Twitter profile says attorney for the woke mob. He had millions of viewers. Well, he had people recording there that day, and they took the clip, my 20 Strong Men. It had over 1 million views on Twitter alone by noon the next day. And it went, this was worldwide. I mean, I don't know if I shared the Norway. They flew in from Norway to do a political documentary on Northampton County's executive race, because of the 20 strong men speech that happened that they saw over in Sweden or over in Norway.
Yep.
So when that took place, so I'm a big, like Trump, I believe there's no such thing as bad press. But that by Monday, that next day, my wife was like, she was calling me. She goes, Steve, I'm trying to go on the Google to find some food. She goes, and your face is on the search engine of Google and the 20 strong. She goes, I can't get away from this stuff. So those first, and the death threats. I mean, my messenger, the amount of voicemails that I got it was tremendous. It took me to Wednesday because I was like, all right, I know I can turn this thing around. I know I can use this for my good. And it took me to about Wednesday to figure it out. The first few days of that experience was unlike anything I've ever been through because it went hyper viral. And the guy who used to work with me on my media team, he went and did like all these numbers. He said when he searched all the different sites, he goes, it was hundreds of millions of views this thing had gotten in a relatively short period of time. It exploded. I mean, it was on MSNBC's news. There was a woman on the congressional floor during a congressional hearing that mentioned my 20 strong men speech and was calling it an insurrectionist, the whole night. I got Susan Wild in a recent debate, even still to this day, called me an insurrectionist at the debate.
You're living rent-free in her head.
Oh, and that's why I laugh at him. So outside of that experience, and it really had to do more with my wife because she was she's not built like me. I laughed at these people. If I was single, I'd be like, hey, I live here. Bring it. Any of you think you're tough enough, come on over. You can come on over anytime you want. But I got kids and I got a wife and I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. But that's what I would be doing. Honestly, that's what I would be doing. You want to talk to me, you want to talk at me, come over here and talk to my face. But the experience was unlike anything I've ever been through in my life. McClure, dealing with that coward he's an embarrassment. I mean, the guy's an embarrassment to human beings. And, the guy's a scumbag. I mean, having a run again, I knew he was corrupt. And this is what I tell people all the time. We look at Allegheny County, you look at Philadelphia County, you just don't even think that Northampton County is as corrupt as it is because it's one of those cities.
He was doing a good rant there.
I know.
Corrupt. They're totally corrupt. They have no morals. They have no ethics. I was down there during the canvassing process after the election. They hide information. You can't get anything. We were told one thing by a solicitor, then it was not this. We were told that we couldn't photograph, we couldn't videotape the whole time we were there. They knew they were lying. And the last day when they're wrapping everything up, like, oh, you could have been videotaping. And yeah, we know that, but they wouldn't let you do it. Then they would move you over to a corner where you couldn't even see the tables. That's how they run these specific things here. And I kept telling people, I'm like, look at what happened at Graysdale. Look at all the stuff going on in this county. And we got these low lifes. They're soul sucking human beings. They're low lifes. They're power hungry. They don't serve the people. And this is where I would hope people that would start to direct their attention. You got to focus on. We have to focus on our communities, our neighborhoods. We got to be training together with fellow men. We got to be getting together and working through things together. The election process, while it's important, I think it's a cog in the wheel. It is not the most important because you think about it. You think about what really impacts your life. School boards, the local, countywide, and within does way more impact on your own personal life than anything that's happening down in D.C. Now, unless you got a resident in chief like, crap your pants in front of the Pope Biden, yeah, that could really affect you because of inflation, gas prices, and everything else. But in terms of that tyranny that happens within your life personally, that's local.
Yeah,
that's local because you guys probably heard me. Oh, there's a quote coming in. I see that.
Yeah. No, you're got a question for you from Movies America. Steve, thoughts on what can be done about the media? I asked because no matter what, they'll spin it to look bad in service of their Democrat overlords. Your 20 strong men speech is a perfect example. I think you were kind of touching on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, my personal opinion is that the media is as crooked and corrupt as the government. And they should be tried appropriately. Some of them should be tried for treason, because if you look at what they've done to this country, it's treasonous. And you cannot, as journalists, go on there and just bold-faced lie. Look, think about even still the whole stuff with the Charlottesville comment about Trump and it's just total false. I mean, it's been totally disproven, totally disproven. How can we allow this to continue to happen? It's so, but again, you look at the law, I forget what the specific name of the law, but Obama passed it to basically illegalize propaganda. And they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable because the average person, is not really dialed in. I know this very well because I've been out campaigning for years. I've talked to many people. They're just not.
Yep.
You would think, you would hope that the thing that shocks me day in and day out is living through what we lived through, knowing exactly why we lived through it, knowing exactly the cause, who was doing it, why they were doing it, and to talk to the average person and they not think it's that bad is mind-blowing to me. To not at one point in this country have $5 gasoline, $7, $8 gasoline when you went out to California. Everything's up. Everything's up. Everything costs more while you're funneling money to Ukraine, open borders, everything else. And the average American doesn't really care.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's a lot of people who don't have anything. Like, therefore, like owning property, having a home, like now you're paying school taxes and whatnot, where that's a big tax. Like that's
right.
That's my biggest tax for sure where I live. And, when I'm paying that, it's like, I know the money's going towards like my local school and whatnot. And now I also have kids that go there. So I'm even more invested into like the school board system and like, what teachers are my kids getting? Like, I'm actually like looking them up. I'm trying to find out more information about them. Yeah, because like you have to. I don't want my kids just being exposed to just like anybody, because like you see that, like, granted it's only like a 0.1% of like the actual teachers that are out there that are those crazy liberals,
right?
Like the lives of TikTok, but God bless an account like that actually finds them and puts them out on blast, and then like they get fired, because like we can't have that kind of stuff, and
right.
It's parents standing up to like these types of like teachers and just school boards that are allowing these types of things to happen or occur when it comes to like different forms of indoctrination or anything like that. So just being involved, like you were saying before, Steve, like like the local politics make a big difference in like your personal life, and like I kind of got that impression, like, just like, hearing your speeches and stuff like that before, where it's like, family man, like you care about like what your kids are going to be going through and like what their other people's kids, like the next generation, are going to have to deal with. Yeah. And to me, that kind of that resonates with me, like that's where it's like, all right, yeah, I care about that type of stuff, and that I own property and whatnot. Like all these things matter. And, like when the inflation happens and then they increase our taxes, well, that's taking money away from like my kids essentially. And so like this is 100%. These are all the things that all like trickle. It's like they all connect, and this is again like where they keep on saying, oh, there's no solution for inflation or this or that. It's like, no, there's absolutely solutions. We were there only a few years ago, and now we backtracked so far that it's going to take another like 5-something years before we can actually get back to where we were again. Like it's not just a matter of turning on the pipelines anymore. It's a matter of just like rebuilding what we had.
Yeah. Because a lot of it's been destroyed. You look at how do you go ahead, Ian, I'm sorry.
I think it's a concept of most people don't, like you guys were saying, most people don't care because it doesn't fully affect them. But like, they
don't have kids or something like that.
I mean, and to an extent, the government is doing its job. The government is doing its basic job if you don't have to fucking think about them every day. But they're not doing their job when they are involved in every single fucking thing. And you were talking about California and talking about that, and that's where I live currently. I know, pity me. I know it sucks, but
internet the whole way.
Hey, exactly. We're good. I ain't got that Fetterman internet. But at the same time, it's like, we live in Murrieta, so it's about an hour north of San Diego, and it's like little valley. It's a little pocket of conservatives. So luckily, we live in an area. I know it's weird, but we live in a conservative part of California. I know it's like an oxymoron, but
Hey, every place has them, brother. Every place has pockets for sure.
Yeah, if you look at the political map, I mean, it's mostly fucking red. So like, which is weird. But at the same time, it's like it sucks that California has gone the way it has, because California is a beautiful state. It has amazing.
Oh my gosh, gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. And I lived here. I was born and raised here, and then I moved to fucking Austin, Texas. So I went from one liberal shithole to another liberal shithole.
Yeah, it is awesome, bad.
Oh yeah,
awesome, bad.
And so when I was out in Austin, I was more liberal. I had some more liberal tendencies, and but what?
You were younger.
Yeah, what?
You were younger.
Yeah, exactly. And I was a jackass, and I did whatever the fuck I want and didn't give a fuck about other shit, about shit. And so I mean, I can attest that to me being younger, but at the same time, it has allowed, and now coming back to California, being around family, being around all that, it has brought me back to understanding what I grew up on, which my dad was listening to Rush Limbaugh and fucking watching all this stuff growing up, in the car. I didn't get it. I didn't understand what the fuck it meant. And then, my mom and my stepdad have always been, conservative Christians. So like, I was raised on that, went away from it, was a metalhead musician for fucking years. And, then came back, and I'm like, what I'm glad that I went through with all that is that I can understand the basic principles of a lot of what the left does, but they, like we were saying, there's those people that just fucking take it for granted. Like, should we make sure that we, recycle and take care of the planet that we live on, and, watch out for, the climate, and, do all this stuff? Yes, of course. That's fucking basic. Like, yes, take care of the place that you live. It's just like taking care of your house. Like, that's basic. But like going to like stopping cow farts, like, come on, dude. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
or banning petroleum vehicles or as engines.
Yeah, it's like, you realize petroleum and gas is used in everything, you fucking dumbass. Like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it sucks when you're.
How do your electric cars get charged? It's like, come on, guys. This is not rocket science here. Yeah.
It's great when you see like the gas powered generators charging an electric vehicle. You're like, you don't see it yet? Are you serious? But hey, I'm gonna ask if you guys can go on for a second, because I'm about to shit my pants sitting here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You bye, Ian.
And I don't think I want that on camera, so I'll be back in just a minute.
Okay. Well, it's just gonna be me and you for a minute, and then Steve until he comes back from pooping his pants, and then so yeah, it's a live show, and sometimes you just can't hold it. So anyway, like I appreciate you coming on here, of course, and like just again, we were talking about like how your family was reacting to some of the threats and all that before, and after we get through all this, we'll definitely do the Twitter files. But like your wife, like she like handled it like a champ for the most part. Like was she stressed out from it?
She was stressed out. There's no doubt about it. Like, my wife and I are very different people. I'm obviously a very kind of type A, extrovert. She's way more reserved. We balance each other out very well. It was difficult. I mean, I tried to put myself in her shoes. If she was getting brutalized in the media, and McClure or anybody that she was running against was just spreading lies about her day in and day out, it would, obviously she was angry for what was being said about her husband, and then the stress of that campaign, because it was so filthy. I mean, it was just a filthy campaign. There was no honor in that campaign. The guy was a coward. He wouldn't face me. I mean, he's an attorney. I mean, shouldn't an attorney feel confident to go to? I'm not an attorney, man. Come debate me. I was like, come on, debate me. You're the polished guy, right? Come debate. Wouldn't do it. So you're sitting there and you have really no recourse. I would go to the media, the local media in the Lehigh Valley is pathetic. The Lehigh Valley Live and all these different left-leaning, they're just pathetic human beings. I mean, the people I had to deal with them, they're just liars, and they would smear stuff and change stuff around. They're just liars. So dealing with that day in and day out, I didn't care about it. To me, it was comical because I thought they were such pathetic humans. My wife is a very different person. It definitely impacted her. My kids thought it was cool, right? They were younger, so they're, my son at the time, so it was like, he's like 11. My daughter's 14. They were like, they thought it was cool. They didn't like how I was talked about, obviously, with some of the things that were being said. But I just explained to them like this is what it is. When you deal with people that have absolutely no honor, this is what you get. You shouldn't be expecting. It also gives you the opportunity to teach your kids about the real life and how people really are.
Yeah, I'm sure your kids probably even heard it. Like, if they're 11 and 14, your daughter was 14, you said, right? So then, like,
yes, my daughter,
she probably heard it in school from like other kids, like, oh, my parents said this or something like that about like.
Well, they were homeschooled.
Oh, okay, so they didn't have to deal with any.
So
of that.
they weren't dealing with that. It probably, you're right. You had, it's fascinating though, because I remember I went to an event and a good friend of mine's daughter, and she was 11 at the time, right? So I'm walking with her. We were having this meeting at this pavilion. We had like 80, 90 people show up. It was really just families and people getting together in a community. I was there to speak. Well, the daughter and I are walking up together, and she goes, the kids in school really think you're cool. And I was like, that's the kid's 11. I'm like, how are they involved in politics? So I kind of screwed it up past her friend, and I'm sitting there talking to her. I said, you got to tell me, what do you mean by that? She goes, you say what you mean, and we know that you're speaking the truth. And she goes, and you don't back down. And I'm like, wow, it's 11. I turned to my buddy and said, Joe, whatever you're doing, keep raising her. It was amazing. 11. She was 11 years old when she said that to me. And I was like, wow, that's like incredible, because again, like, but that's the beauty of kids, man. They know, they could smell out BS a mile away. They're a genuine detector. They know someone who's genuine and someone who's not. But I found it fascinating because that age group was really like on board with what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's just like 11. I couldn't even imagine even giving two shits about politics like at 11.
I know. I know. That was the thing I was most impressed with. I was like, wow, you're getting engaged. It's funny. Ian was talking about his dad listening to Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that. That was the thing. Like, I kind of grew up that if you ever met my father, you'd be like, okay, I know exactly where Steve came from, because the man's a constitutionalist. Like, it was bred into this. I love the country. I love this country. I love what it stands for. I do not love what it has become. I think what it has become is a travesty. But I think the ideals of what makes America so amazing are beautiful. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it the most perfect form of government? Not the way that it's been bastardized now, but in reality, what the Constitution represents, what our Bill of Rights represents, how it's supposed to bridle the government and give us what doesn't give us any powers. What powers come from God. Our rights come from God. But it is the most perfect formation of government ever devised in any civilization. And so the nuts and bolts are there for us to take this country back and to do amazing things with it. It's just, do the people have the fortitude to do what's necessary to win this country back? That's the $64,000 question. Mm-hmm. And I guess, as we're moving into the future, we're going to see what the people are willing to do. Sure.
Now, I guess like my last kind of question, or a couple questions left for like the campaign stuff.
Yeah.
Is now that you've kind of like gone through the process and like you kind of like saw like what you did and like, what you said and everything like that, is there anything that you would have done differently, like going back, like, like thinking about like anything that you would have done that you think would have made a difference in the impact of like the election results for the executive position?
You broke up a little bit. Were you asking, would there be something I would have done different? Is that what you asked?
Differently. Yeah. Is there anything that you would have done differently that you think would have impacted the election when you're running for the executive?
There are people that I now work within the Republican Party, some of the committee people that I was at during my race. And I was at odds with them because other individuals within the party who ended up being total snakes were dishonest. And what people need to understand about local politics, especially in Northampton County, and I can't speak for the Democrat Party because I'm not a Democrat, the infighting and the nonsense that goes on within our party, it would make you want to vomit. So one thing I do look back on is I wish I would have had more of a relationship with some of the people that I do now. But I will tell you this, I don't regret it. And the reason I don't is that also exposed to me, because I'm a big believer, like I'd rather go through some hardships, but if I get exposed and I could figure out who snakes are, I'll take it all day long. I'll take it on the chin all day long if I could find out who you really are and what kind of character that you have. So while there's some things I probably would have done different with some other individuals within the party, maybe that would have changed some things, maybe not. I also don't regret it because it did reveal to me people that I was working with closely that absolutely turned out to be some of the worst human beings I've ever dealt with in my entire life. So not so much regret. I just learned from it. I learned from it.
Okay, that's an interesting take on that one. And then like my final one for you, when it comes to the campaign, is there any chance of you running again in the future, since like now that you've kind of seen what the tactics have been against you?
So my short answer is no. I don't have a plan to run for office. I think my wife would want to string me up if I said yes. But I also would say this: I'm a big believer in God. I also would not put him in a box, and I would not limit what he may or may not want to do with me. I seek to do his will on a continuous basis. Do I get it right every time? Absolutely not. So my short answer is I have no plans on it. Mm-hmm. If God were to move me in a specific direction, and also the one thing I would pray for in doing that is like, you need to tell my wife, because if she gets confirmation on it, then we're good to go, because then it means it's not me.
Talk to her.
Yeah, talk to her.
God.
Sign, right? What is it? Happy wife, happy life? Is that?
Yeah. Well, it's not just that, because she has very good discernment. Yeah. So like, I'm an excitable guy. Like I'm a run through the wall kind of guy. Like if we need to go do something, all right, let's do it, and I'll do it until we get it done. She has more reservation, where she'll take things, and instead of just being impulsive, she'll kind of say some things, ask some questions, pose. And I also have some other good people in my life too that I can bring this to. So it's not on the radar. I'll tell you, one of the things that I am focused on is we've helped so many people throughout this past year that are on state committee with me. I want to help other people get elected. That's what I really want to do. I want to find other local leaders that are willing to primary rhinos, that are willing to run for seats that are occupied by Democrats, but no Republican wants to run, and then use my platform to get them out there. Because it's always, as you guys know this, it's always been for me about the people. It has not been about me. It's not been about me winning an office. Like at the office, I would tell you that the office was going to be used to continue to further the message of liberty. I was going to use that office for the next 4 years to, one, go after any, the sheriff's department was 100% on board with me. These guys supported me big time, and they can't stand what's going on in that administration. I would have used the sheriff's deputies to actually bring law and order into this. I would have gone after any of these sleazy politicians, these local politicians that are doing something. I would have focused on putting them in jail. I wanted to go after politicians. That was one of my big things. I wanted to bring justice. The American people have not had justice. You look at all this stuff in Clinton body count and all this other stuff and Hunter Biden on his laptop and all these things, and nothing happens to them. And I said, you know what? In Northampton County, we're going to make some things happen. We're going to go after these people. We're going to find out if they're committing crimes, if they're laundering money. The budget in Northampton County is like $500 million. You mean to tell me that we've got money floating around somewhere that we don't know about? Absolutely we do, especially with a scumbag like McClure running things. So that was my focus, was about bringing justice. I wanted to start bringing some wins for the American people in Northampton County. That was my focus, and it would continue to be my focus no matter what it is that I'm doing now or in the future.
Yeah, and you got to start somewhere. So it would be like if you would be able to inspire other people to be like, oh well, we got one guy doing it, so maybe if we get two guys. And then 3 or 4, and then it starts. It builds. I was listening to what you guys were talking about while I was pooping. Got in the conversation. But one thing that you were talking about, and it kind of struck me on this is seeing you were talking about an 11-year-old understanding politics, and and understanding on that level. And I think one thing that I believe is it's the politics and society and all this is a pendulum. And I think that the pendulum is on its downswing back because, with shit, like with, and then, you talking about you influencing other people to do things. It's just like Elon putting out the Twitter files and addressing all this and exposing all this. It's going to influence someone. And because, everyone's so fucking corrupt and, wants money above all else, they're going to see
buying power.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to see that Elon's getting advertising dollars. They're going to see that Elon's getting, everyone's using his, his platform now and, doing all this. And they're going to see, oh, well, maybe we can make some more money, So like, I think it needs a little bit of a push back to start going that way. And I think that the couple of generations that we've had, the millennials and Gen Z, I guess, with the next generation after that, I think is going to start seeing that all these people are fucking idiots. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, so I think it's just going to take time. And then, the young ones are the ones that make the culture. That's kind of the way it is for the most part.
Yep.
So like, I think that culture is going to shift a little bit. And then these people that just want to make money are going to see that and shift with it.
My son is 12. I actually think, I don't disagree with you. I think you are seeing that pendulum, because they're witnessing. My son and I talk about things, and like some of these people out there, like the Libs of TikTok scenario, he just kind of looks at me, shakes his head. I think kids his age, but you need strong leaders. You need strong men in the household. You need strong, that's a whole other conversation, right? Men in the households and father figures and everything else like that. Like my dad was a hard ass. He was a hard ass. He was a disciplinarian. I hated it growing up. Looking at things now, I'm like, oh my God, thank you God that you were so hard on me, because I would not be the same man I am today if you weren't so hard on me. And you don't know it. And I tell my son all the time, like, I will never let you get away with anything. Yeah. And I do that because if I let you get away with stuff, you're going to get brutalized out in the real world, because the real world, these snowflakes don't have a clue. They have no clue the real world is a perfect example. These people were in a bubble for the past few years, protected with their lies and all their buddies, and nothing was being revealed to them. And now, boom, everything it's free speech, and you can't hide behind your BS, and you can't get people just shut down by sending emails to their whatever the JJ's name was, whatever that woman's name was, that was just basically canceling accounts. Or Michelle Obama can send messages into Twitter and get accounts canceled and everything else. And they were working on Trump being canceled for months, even prior to J6, and all this other stuff that has been revealed. These kids, like my son's seeing this. He sees it and he thinks they're a joke. So I agree with you. I think that there's that generation that's like that, probably that 10 to 15 age group right now, 9 to 15. That's the ones. But here's the problem, and I've been preaching on this too. We got about a 2-decade period, okay, some 15, probably 20 years, where we haven't even seen it yet. The millennials that are going to be in power, these people are going to be running for office. It's like the AOCs. We're going to see nothing but AOCs for a while, and I have a very significant concern that is going to be something that I think we're getting into the beginning stages of how bad things can get before they get better. That's just my and I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I'm just looking at the reality. Yeah. These people have been so brainwashed. They are terrified of freaking climate. I mean, they're terrified of it. How are you terrified? I remember being in high school and listening to dipshit Gore and his inconvenient truth. I watched that. According to him, right now,
we should be dead.
Coastline should be all underwater. Then explain to me why Obama's buying Martha's Vineyards and all these oceanfront properties if you really, really believed that everything's you're going to buy a $20 million estate on an oceanfront property.
Yeah, here's the thing when it comes to that, like I think Ben Shapiro actually said this before, and no matter what you think about him, he's right when it comes to this. It's like, what have people been doing for millions of years? For millions of years, whenever the water moves inland, people move further inland, you know,
Right.
and it doesn't happen like overnight. Like there's not going to be a tsunami that comes, hits, and now, hey, guess what? New Jersey's gone. No,
Right.
it's going to be like, you know, like a quarter of an inch over like 100 years. Maybe,
Right.
but then maybe you're gonna get like a quarter inch somewhere else. You know, like things move, things shift and whatnot. And like our polar ice caps and whatnot, they're like, oh, they're melting, they go away. Like, how comes there's still so much ice? You know,
Right,
what's the deal?
exactly.
Like the whole thing is just like it's fear tactics. It's about just trying to, because I mean, like as a kid, you do get into these like oh my god, what's going to happen? I remember being a kid, and they were pushing all that stuff. I remember all of it. But
you're just a science denier, dude. You're just a science denier.
that must be it. That must be it.
Are you talking about the science, as in the science?
Yeah, I'm talking about Fauci, the science.
The science.
Bridge troll.
Oh, unbelievable! What hubris the man has to call himself the science.
Well, then we could actually transition. That's a perfect transition over to Elon and the Twitter files, because I mean, like he was just calling out Fauci like pretty hard.
Well, okay.
What did he say? My pronouns are prosecute and Fauci.
I got it right here.
That tweet won the day. I was like, oh my gosh, it was a real tweet. I thought someone was making it up. I was like, holy crap, it's a real tweet.
Right there.
So great.
Yeah,
there it is.
And then that dingleberry underneath it. No,
how about that character?
Oh, God. Okay, one thing.
Another topic.
One thing that I did want to touch on, or that you were talking about, is you look back and you see what your dad did and you appreciate it. And I think we all come to a point in our lives, because you grow up and you're like, fuck my dad, like fuck my parents, like they're fucking idiots. They don't know what the fuck's going on. And then you get that moment and you come to it and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had the conversation.
You were right.
Holy, I said I wasn't going to be like my dad. Ah, man, I am. Yeah. I know exactly.
And I think a big problem with a lot of the generations that are coming to their own now and doing that is that, like, so when you make mistakes and you go through hardships, and I'm not saying like getting beaten by your parents or molested or anything, anything illegal, anything like that. Like, I think that when you go through things and then you come to the realization, that molds your character, that molds who you are as a person. And if you immediately get outraged and you immediately say, this is wrong and I'm victimized and all this stuff, and you don't like actually go through the motions of like trying to build your character and trying to go through things, I think it builds up a false character. And then that, instead of coming to the realization of, oh, my parents were right, or oh, what this happened, coming to that realization isn't going to be real. You're going to come to a realization that I'm a piece of shit and I'm the one that didn't get taught correctly. And then it's going to be, I mean, you think suicide rate's bad now? You know what I mean? It's going to get worse later, because people are going to realize that, oh, I fucked over all these fucking people because I was a little fucking twat waffle.
Well, not only that, I think you might even be giving people too much credit. They won't even know how to deal with any kind of rejection, negativity. Like, when I was a kid, when I was growing up in grade school, going into high school, we never even thought about, heard of mental health, none of that stuff. Like, none of, we didn't talk about it, none of it. Now I talk to guys that are like 22 and they're telling me, well, I got to focus on my mental health. I'm like, what? Play sports, go to the gym, take care of yourself, like go after girls, do the things that are really just the normal things that we do, and you won't have these issues. But you're sitting there focused on like every little thing, anxiety and depression. Like, what is going on?
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
In the cradle and the silver spoon.
What do we got here?
It was just saying, like, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you.
Oh man, I tell you, there's times I'm like, oh my god, I sound like my father. Like, I sit there like, oh god, I sound like my father, and I do. I'm like, oh, and I'll think back to some of the stuff he told me when I was like 12. I was like, you're out of your mind. And then I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, he was right. Like, it's right. But that's the thing, right? Life experience. I'm 44 years old. I look back, like just the age alone, just living on Earth alone with doing nothing else, and having life experience will make you more wise. And I also believe, I don't believe in failure. I think the only time you fail is when you have a lesson that's obviously to be learned through a possible quote unquote failure that you don't learn. That's a failure. If you go through something, a trial, a tribulation, and you pick up a valuable life lesson, that's where we learn the most, right? You grow from all the hardships. You know, it's great to go through good stuff, and that's the time to be very grateful and thankful. But man, when those trials come, learn from it. Like I tell my son, like the adversity is what molds you. It's what shapes you. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you a better man. It's going to, these are the things that are necessary to grow up in life. I said, if you think you're going to be like your dad and not do these specific things and not be strong about it, you're not. You're going to go out into the real world. You're going to get eaten up. Yeah, and that's the kind of conversation you got to have with these kids.
Yeah, it goes along with that. It's what builds your character. It's like that's one of those things. It's like, like I don't regret anything I've done because it makes me the man and the person that I am today.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have gone through those things, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you guys. I wouldn't have the wife that I have. I wouldn't have my fucking person. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have those things in my life and come to the realizations that I have.
Amen.
You know? So, but I think we should do some Twitter files.
Yeah, we're trying to segue into that. Let's do it.
All right. So, have you guys paid attention to the Twitter files 1 through 4?
I've been trying to follow them as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm trying to. 1 through 2, I went through. 3 and 4, spotty. But yeah, go into it. But let's talk about them.
Okay. So, the first ones. This is so we had the Twitter files part 1 from Matt Taibbi. Talking about censorship and and all that stuff. And then Bari Weiss did the Twitter files part 2, which was basically talking about the Twitter's the blacklists. So like being shadow banned and all that stuff. And then I think part 3 was the lead up to the election and to January 6th.
And also Trump getting banned.
That's what I'm saying.
Lead into that.
Yeah, the lead up to all of that and how, like you were saying, Michelle Obama or Mike, whatever you want to call her.
Big him. Mike.
She probably got a huge peen. Wait, predictably, the media doesn't debate Elon, Bari Weiss, or Matt Taibbi about each of the items in the Twitter files because they'd get annihilated by the facts. They just say it's not journalism.
They're just not going to bring it up at all because they at this point, like it's the same thing with like in part 4 when they bring up Michelle Obama about the only person who actually at first initiated, hey, we need to ban Trump, and then he gets banned. Like that type of thing. It's just they just want it to go away. She's right. There's none of the I'm sorry. Neither of the Obamas are going to actually make a statement against that.
Right. Because it'll draw attention to it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I thought was interesting about the Twitter files part 4, by the Michael Schellenberger, which I believe he's liberal as well. Like like you were bringing up how it's smart that Elon had the liberal journalist, Matt Taibbi, Bari Weiss, who I don't know if you've seen the Rogan episode where Bari Weiss was on there, but good God, was it a fucking hilarious? He was talking about Shawn and I think we talked about this before, but he was talking about how Tulsi Gabbard is someone that is more centrist, like liberals before she came out as independent. But he was talking about how she was great, and she could maybe bring both sides together kind of a little bit, and Bari Weiss literally said no, she is the mother lode of all bad ideas. And she is an Assad toady. And then when asked what the definition of a toady is, she goes, Jamie, I look that up.
Yeah, it's like this story and not understand what a toady is, a lackey, like a henchman, anything like that. Like use some like adjectives, anything like or just something there's a thesaurus, something.
Yeah. To me, it was like, bitch, why are you asking Jamie to do what you should know? You're a journalist. He ain't your fucking producer. Like,
right. Unbelievable.
But yeah, but basically just giving a little context to who Bari Weiss is, who Matt Taibbi, all these people, they are liberal journalists. They are more that, like you were saying, they don't like Trump. They don't like all this, but they don't like Glenn Greenwald, like same basic premise. They don't like Trump, but they don't like corruption. So like,
and that's what it should be, right? And that's all it should be. everybody's going to have their own opinions. You're going to have political leanings and things like that. But if you're going to be a journalist, you've got to look at the evidence and the information for what it's worth, and then just report it and let people make their own minds up. Yeah, and that's what we're missing. If we had that, a Democrat today would never win an election. If you actually had people out there, and and there's plenty of bad Republicans too, but we're not nuts. We're not talking about chopping off genitals, doing all this other stuff. We're not nuts. Yeah. And our policies are also trying to strip away everything from you to then redistribute it to whomever we see fit in a very inefficient manner, wasting 90% of it along the way. That's basically their platform. That's their entire platform. But no, it's a pretty fascinating thing to watch. I mean, these Twitter files it's a peek behind the curtain. I mean, and
that's one thing that we have said a bunch of times is that coming from not the content creator side, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's fucking nuts. Like, what should we like? Why is this happening? And then being a content creator, I'm all, give me all of it. Do all the crazy, stupid shit, because then we can talk shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, just think about the past 2 weeks. All we did was talk about Kanye or Ye. It's like, it's like, what a shit show that is. What a shit show. But at the same time, it's like, great content.
But when getting so in part 4 of the Twitter files, one of the things that I thought was interesting is this right here. So it says Dorsey was on vacation in French Polynesia the week of January 4th to 8th, 2021. He phoned into meetings, but also delegated much of the handling of the situation to senior execs, Yoel Roth, Twitter's head of global trust and safety, and Vijaya, head of legal policy and trust. Her name is Vagina God. To me,
I said the JJ, I think earlier, so yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things.
JJ.
So I think it's either that Jack knew what was going to happen and distanced himself from it, and that probably will come out at some point, or that everyone, the heads of Twitter, were going against what their CEO was trying to, what had on there. But then again, Dorsey and Vagina God were on Rogan with Tim Pool, basically saying that they didn't do anything to censor, and we only go against hate speech, which I'm sorry, that's some fucking bullshit.
But again, who determines what it's hate speech?
Right. Yeah. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I said, our founding fathers didn't define hate speech, and there's a reason for that. You can't, because that means a class of people are defining what another class of people cannot say. You can't do that. You can't. Like, I don't agree with everything somebody says. I don't think a racist comment, is nice to hear. But I think you have the right to say it. I don't think a sexist comment is nice to hear. But I don't think you don't have the right to say it. I also don't think you don't have you have to understand when you say specific things, there's consequences to what you say, and you have to deal with that too. Like, that's about having a free society. If you want a truly free society, it has to kind of run its course. It's got to do its thing. If you bridle people, that means somebody else has the power to do it to another human being. That's not how this is intended. And honestly, it's a usurpation of God. God even gives you free will. You have free will from the Creator. Then another man or woman's going to come in and say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. I can curse all day long. God may not like it, but he still gives me the ability to do it. So it's like,
I mean, I'm sure if you listened to 5 minutes of our podcast, you would be like, these guys are Christians. But at the same time, you realize that the way we say things might not be the best, but at the same time, it's our messaging. What is it? Hate the sin, not the sinner, right?
Hate the sin, not the sinner. And it's true. Like, you cannot have a free society. You can't. It's physically impossible when you have a section and sect of people that are telling another sect of people what to do. And you cannot have a well-run government when you have elected officials that are supposed to be public servants, and they have completely forgotten that role. They get right into office and they think they have power over you. And the fascinating thing is, some people like it. That's the thing that blows my mind day in and day out. It's like, why do you honestly think some bureaucrat has a better ability of where to tell you how you spend your money, how to take care of your family, how to put food on the table? And I think some people do. I think that they do believe it. I've become less naive, especially running for office, to, we get shocked. We're common sense guys, right? It sounds like you guys are very common sense. It's very shocked when you're looking around, you're thinking, how is this possible? How can you really believe this? I don't know outside of to explain to you. I think that, and I said it earlier, indoctrination is unbelievably strong. The propaganda is powerful. When you have discernment, common sense, you're a spiritual human being, and you're connected to God, you have the ability to completely cut through all that. I really believe that. And that's why people who have common sense can just look at things and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. You have that spiritual intuition, that gut instinct, which as I've gotten older, I refuse to not listen to my gut. I have learned that my gut is spot on, and every time I've not listened to it, I've been wrong. Every time, 100% of the time.
Yep. And it's I don't know. It just gets to a point where it's like, can we not like critically think about things and like not just go by, vote blue no matter who, or vote
right
till you're dead. I don't know what the link, the funny little motto that is.
During our Halloween parade, I said, I had my bullhorn. I said, vote red or your country's dead.
Well, I mean, like we talked about this before, Ian, when obviously like all of that stuff was it was all tribalism, like whether it's right or left or anything like that. It was all just kind of like, we were taking it as a joke, obviously, with like the vote red or your country's dead, but like, because we're making fun of the vote blue no matter who.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that, they literally believe that. They literally believe that.
And then you ask them, and then if you see all these videos, these men on the streets, and you see all this, and there was one that I saw that asking about like, who do you think started the KKK? And it was
it was different back then.
And then the black dude said, "Oh, Republicans," and he's like, "No, it was the Democrats." Oh, who was against civil rights? The Republicans. No, it was the Democrats. And because they don't even know these things.
No, but then they'll say like, "Oh, so what party was Abraham Lincoln part of?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "Well, he was obviously a Democrat because he freed the slaves." And it's like, no, actually, the Democrats were fighting for slavery.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Lincoln started the Republican Party, you fucking dumbass. What I would have to say to all of them is,
you are a retard.
All right. So I just kind of scrolled through, and there are over 50 different tweets.
I remember some of the things when it came down to this, like they were looking at Trump's tweets, like when this is, I think, in part four of the thing. I don't know which one are you in.
I'm looking at part 5, the one that just came out 7 hours ago.
Oh, okay, that's brand new.
Yeah, so I'm trying to read through a little bit of it. It's basically so the first one, on the morning of January 8th, President Donald Trump, with one remaining strike before being at risk of permanent suspension from Twitter, tweets twice. So at 6:46, he said, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form." I think this is all true. I mean, they have been, but I don't think they're going to stand for it.
It's screenshots.
Yeah.
I mean, like, granted, they could be doctored, but I highly doubt any of that would be doctored.
Well, I mean, now you can go back and actually see what he fucking said, because he was reinstated.
The archive. Yeah, the archive's up.
Well, no, he is reinstated on Twitter, so it's not even just having to go to an archive. Like, you can go to his actual Twitter, and it's up again.
Scroll back.
Yeah. So, and then at 7:44 a.m., to all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. I don't fault him for that. You know what I mean? Like, that's
not after how they treated him through the entire campaign.
I wouldn't have gone for Joe Biden. Absolutely not. No way.
No, exactly. I wouldn't want to sit downwind of a shitty fucking Depends diaper.
Nope, absolutely not. Agreed 100%.
Do you think he shit his pants when he fell up the stairs, or when he fell off the bike?
You know what? If you're going to shit your pants, that would be an opportunity to do it. 3 falls up the flight. I think that's the time outside of that, and of course your visit with the Pope.
I personally think that's what made him fall off the bike. I think he shit himself and just
no, don't Ian, don't you remember? Like when he was crossing that cross path right there was a little girl like that was part of like the photographers and whatnot, and he looked over and then he tried to get off the bike, but his feet were clipped in, like, so he literally fell trying. And then who's the first person he ran up to? The little girl.
Yeah.
So it's so fucking creepy. Like all the coincidences.
I think what it was.
He's the guy from Poltergeist, man. He's the guy from Poltergeist.
It's so many coincidences.
He was rolling up and saw that little girl and looked down and he's like, "Oh my god, it works again."
No.
Well, that's fucked up.
We got shitty. That whole thing I said, like, best Christian. Yeah. Okay, so it basically is just going into kind of the kind of like what happened after January 6th and all that. And I do kind of want to I want to review this a little bit. I didn't know that there was a new one that just came out today.
Yeah, so is that 5 that dropped today?
That's 5 that dropped today. Barry Weiss on Barry Weiss's Twitter. So
in the fourth one, they were literally talking about the fact that they were going through and they were constantly, they had a team of people on Twitter that were going through Donald Trump's tweets, and they were considered like a terrorist task force. Essentially, they were going through and they were trying to, does this fit any of the requirements to be able to remove this, or like they would add things to his tweet, like something that's out of context or this or that. They were constantly trying to discredit him in any way, shape, or form. And then they would actually find out that, like, well, actually this is true, and like they would be like talking to each other, and they would be like, yeah, actually that's a true thing that he stated. He was talking about like ballots being off in one of the states and whatever. So like it was things like that.
Well, I think one of the things also that they were that I noticed in there was that they were saying that this doesn't go against our terms of service, but I don't like it.
Right.
It's like, go fuck yourself then. If you don't like information, you don't got to follow the president.
Right. Exactly. Unfollow him. I mean, he was targeted along with, James Wood. Obviously, I think he's filed a lawsuit against, I forget who he's going after, but
DNC.
The DNC. Yes, exactly. Like,
well, he was mentioned. He was mentioned in like 2 or 3.
Look, I hope that these things go somewhere. The other problem that you have is you can't find lawyers that have the balls to do something about it.
Because they're scared.
My wife lost her job. She was a trauma nurse for 20 years at Lehigh Valley Hospital. She lost her job because of the jab mandate.
Yep.
And along with other, many other health professionals lost their job, because of that. And you had all this misinformation going on out there, all this suppression going on out there. We've been touting. I keep saying this to people all the time, like, how is it a gym guy? I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I'm not any of these so-called experts that have been getting it wrong for all these years, which I don't think they've been getting it wrong. I think it's lie by design. I think they're doing that by design. And we non-experts are nailing this thing in and out. You got all the suppression of information that thank God Elon's literally exposing. I mean, he's just literally giving you the peek behind the curtain here. Trump and all these people that were kicked off of Twitter. This is the First Amendment. According to the Constitution, any law that supersedes the Constitution, the law of the land, is null and void. When you go after someone's First Amendment rights to speak freely, and again, not violate terms of service, because the argument, it's a private company, that they don't like to say that now because Elon's actually exposing what they're doing. It's a private company. Yeah. Like, you can't, your rights still supersede that. Okay, so if the First Amendment is free speech, and you're working with a company that says that wants to bridle your speech, you could sue them for violating your First Amendment right.
Mm-hmm.
If you work for that company, let's say, and they wanted to bridle your speech, how could you do that? You still have a right to speak your mind.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we were talking about before we started on the stream, but we just went through a little bit of YouTube censorship and stuff like that, and
right.
One of the things I went on the Whiskey Capitalist Twitter and had some things to say. I had my own thread of information, a la the Twitter files. But it's basically like one of the points that I was making in that is you don't combat bad speech according to you with censorship. You combat it with better speech. So if you think that what I'm saying is wrong or what someone else is saying it's wrong, then combat it with better speech. Right. I don't think that's a capability of the modern left. I don't think it is. And I don't think it's liberalism. I think it's leftism. I think liberalism and leftism are completely fucking different.
I agree with you.
It's a good point because I mean, like, if we were to like kind of roll back the clock a little bit and like look back to like 1990 or something like that, I think we would all kind of fit into that umbrella term of like liberal because of like what that term meant and what it represented, so like, and that's okay, because again, like the way I explained to somebody, even just like this past weekend, I explained like the spectrum has shifted, like the expectations of what you would want from like the party has shifted and it's gone to extremes. So therefore it's like, like the term liberal has moved even further left to where it's almost like to this radical left kind of movement almost. And like, so therefore it's like, if you're a centrist, like that, it almost like non-existent anymore because like you can't just sit idly by anymore. You have to like, kind of like, is this wrong or are you okay with this happening right now? Yeah. Like you gotta like make a stand.
Yeah, it gets a little ridiculous with like kind of talking about the the January 6th stuff and all that or what everyone is trying to call 9/11 too. That is one thing that I want to kind of get into with you because you from what you've said that you were there that day. So I want to, what we were talking about at the top is I want to get into that and kind of get a firsthand account of kind of how the atmosphere was that day and like what was going on. Yeah.
So I'll take you back to where it started. I got down there, my wife, myself, and her aunt. Those are three of us that went down there together. We actually stayed at a hotel that was very close to the Ellipse. That was where Trump spoke at before we all went down to the Capitol early in the afternoon. Or mid afternoon. Yeah. So I was down there the night before. They had like a concert going on. There was a couple thousand people down there it was at the People's Plaza down there. That Bryson Gray was performing. It was a great event. So I mean, and me being with two women, I mean, I'll be honest. Like eyes in the back of my head, I was just kind of watching and making sure stuff was okay because all I cared about was their safety.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was down there. We had a good night. We came in. The next morning, we got up I think it was about 8 o'clock. We walked out of our hotel. We went over to the Ellipse. We got down to the Ellipse, which, again, between where the stage was and the Washington Monument was a huge grass area. We were standing kind of on that roadway right before you got into kind of where the not quarantined off, roped off area where people were, some people with the president, other people that were up closer, and then behind us, the whole place just filled in with people. I have never been in a crowd of that size. It was unbelievable to be at. It was singing the national anthem, like it was an amazing patriotic experience. That's what was going on at the Ellipse. Trump was slated to speak at 11 a.m. He did not get on the stage till noon. It was just past noon.
Okay.
He ended his speech at about 1:05. Okay, at the end of his, and he never incited violence. It's all just, it's part of my French, is bullshit. There was nothing that came out of his mouth that said to you, you know what, we're going to go down there and march to the Capitol and we're going to have an insurrection. It was nonsense. Nothing came out of his mouth. Right. We're going to go peacefully and patriotically down there to make your voices heard, was his exact words.
Yeah, we saw like the full speech. We've seen the full speech before. Right? There's nothing in there that actually insinuates that.
So we left there at 1:05, got back to our hotel, had lunch, and then we ended up making it down. There was about a 25-minute walk from our hotel down to the Capitol. So I got down to the Capitol somewhere in the neighborhood of 2:30, 2:45, somewhere in there. So we were on the back side of the Capitol. I stood on between where the pond was and then the grassy area to the. So I was probably at the closest I was to the Capitol personally was 300 yards. That's how close. I mean, so it was not close. I was probably about 3 football lengths away from the actual back of the Capitol building. Maybe about 200 yards. I stood there for 2 hours. 2 hours. We left finally about 4:30 in the afternoon, and all I did was I was watching what was going on, watching what was happening up there, looking at the front, looking at the Capitol, seeing the people that were up there. There was cops up there in the yellow, like almost like a safety vests, which there wasn't many for a crowd of well over probably 1 million people.
Yeah.
But nothing was going on. There was no violence. Now you had no cell phone reception. You couldn't do videos. I couldn't do lives from there. You couldn't send texts. You couldn't make phone calls. And the same thing happened at the Ellipse. So both of those times, it was radio silence. You had nothing. So at about 4:30, now no SWAT, no ambulances, no sirens, no nothing. Nothing was going on for 2 hours.
Okay.
I left there and started walking back to my hotel because it's just kind of the crowd dispersed. Keep in mind, at this point, I had no idea anything was going on, and I'm in Washington, D.C. while this insurrection was going on. Keep that in mind. Firsthand, eyewitness, had no clue. We leave. As I'm walking away, my phone starts working, and it's blowing up. Text messages are coming in, phone calls. My mom's calling, so I pick up. She goes, "Hey, are you safe?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Are you safe? The Capitol's under siege." And I said, "The hell are you talking about?" She goes, "The Capitol's under siege." I said, I turn around, I look at the Capitol. I'm like, "Mom, I'm looking at the Capitol. There's nothing going on." She goes, "It's on the news." I said, "Turn your freaking news off." I said, "They're lying to you. I've been here. I'm standing here for hours. There's nothing going on." So we get back. Muriel Bowser had a curfew, 6 o'clock. They literally locked our hotel, positioned cops outside it, which is a total fire violation. They put padlocks on the doors, locked us in. 6 o'clock, you couldn't get food. Everything was shut down. All of DC was shut down. You could get nothing. So now we're locked in this building. I go back and I'm watching the news. It's like, when the hell did this happen? Now, I have proof of this too. The whole thing is such a lie. You can go back. Maybe they scrubbed it, but if they did, I saved a screenshot. Do you know that NPR put out an ad, a press briefing at 9:33 in the morning on January 6th that the Capitol was under siege? How in the hell could Trump initiate a riot if 2.5 hours earlier they're talking about the Capitol being under siege and he hasn't spoken yet for 2.5 hours? That's a fact. I have the screenshot. NPR talked about it being under siege at 9:33 in the morning. That's when their article went live on January 6th. He didn't even
was there a reporter on the ground, Ray Epps?
I don't. Yeah, right. I don't know who the reporter was. I forget who the reporter was for there, but I know I saw that. I was like, well, that's impossible. He didn't speak for 2.5. How is this guy getting pinned for causing an insurrection when he didn't even speak for 2.5 hours after what the NPR said it was under siege? It had to have been in the morning, and I think that's what was going on. Whatever was happening was in the morning while we were at the Ellipse.
And they had to have done like an RF jamming when it came to like no one getting any kind of like cell phone service. They do that typically when there's any kind of rioting or anything like that. Like they will shut down everyone's cell service. Like kind of what's happened in China just recently. But
it also is interesting that you say that there wasn't any service or at the Capitol, at the Ellipse or anything like that. But at the same time, and you couldn't go live and all that, but there were lives. So like, were they, some undercovers?
Plans?
Well, look, we all know the FBI was involved. We all know all this. It's all that. We know what the cops were doing. We see the video footage, even though they want to tell us that we didn't see the video footage with our own eyes, that we saw cops letting people in. They're coming up the stairs, all the stage stuff that was going on in there, the film crews that were inside. It was all just bullshit. It's just like bullshit.
It sucks because it's like, you want to on one hand be like, yes, obviously, beating the shit out of someone for, political, means and, doing all that and, violence, for that is wrong. Obviously you want to condemn that because that's not right. That's not how we get things done. That's not what
you damage stuff. You should be held accountable.
And what is crazy is most conservatives and most Republicans feel that. I'd say 95%. But like we have been saying, there are bad actors, there are rhinos, there are people that don't have our best interests at heart. So you're obviously going to have that small percentage of people that do the violence, do the thing. But then at the same time, you got to think about it and you got to be like, well, how much of that was Fed boys? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A lot.
Always.
I bet you a lot.
And the other question I would have for you then is like, so we saw the footage of like people with like, you know, baseball bats and all kinds of shit. Like there was no whiff of any of that like during all the hours that you were present. Like
I had no clue. I had no clue any of this was going on. And I was indeed, and I stayed the next night. I didn't leave. I left on the 7th morning. I left. We were able to get out of it. And I go the next morning. So I had it all fresh in my mind. I went right down into the lobby, and for about 50 minutes, I did a Facebook Live, and I recorded everything about what transpired over the past 24 hours. And I remember it like it was yesterday. So pretty much what I'm telling you is what you're going to hear in that live. Yeah. And yet nothing. I didn't until my mother called. Like I'm on the phone with my mom at about 4:30 in the afternoon. That's when an eyewitness of somebody was listening to Trump at the ellipse at the Capitol all day long, had no clue an insurrection was going on until my mother called and said it was on the news. That's when I found out.
It's ridiculous. And though the one thing I do, I am happy about with this interview that, having you on and stuff too, is waiting until the end to talk about this, because I personally wanted to get a feel of who you are. And because someone could talk about something and you can tell it's bullshit. Like you know what I mean? You, by the way they are, their character, the way they speak and how they talk about things, that's bullshit and whatever. So I wanted to give you enough time for anyone watching this, whatever, to like see who you are and how you talk about. I
appreciate that. Yeah, because this is a touchy subject.
Yeah, exactly. And then to the very end, people are like, okay, cool. Well, I like this guy. I see that he's not a shitty, dude. I mean, obviously your politics, according to some people, might be reprehensible, whatever. But at triggered of what you're saying, you know what I mean? The character of what
I appreciate that. Actually, it's smart to do it that way, because this is one of those topics that is so polarizing, and it just doesn't need to be. I'll make it very clear. If you went into that Capitol, if you damaged it, if you caused vandalism, anything like that, just like any other human being, you should be prosecuted, innocent until proven guilty, because we got people in that jail down there that's been treated worse than third-rate citizens for the last 2 years, or roughly 2 years that they've been in that prison, that haven't done anything, that were let in by cops.
We're going to be hitting 2 years.
If you hurt somebody, if you hit somebody with a baseball bat and it's proven that you did, then you should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. How much clearer can someone like myself be? And that you can't twist that around and say, well, he's a J6 sympathizer. I'm a sympathizer for any American citizen that's wrongly accused and imprisoned. That's what I'm a sympathizer for.
There's a bunch of like old ladies essentially that are imprisoned because of the fact that they were inside the building and they were they were taking selfies inside the building. Now the thing is, like, we can even attest to back in like 2018 where the feminists went and they protested inside the Capitol for Brett Kavanaugh, and they wore their vagina hats and they all did their whole little prance through like the Capitol like that. And again, essentially we pay our taxes and whatnot. Like these people work for us. Yeah, it's a public building. Like therefore you can enter. Don't vandalize. Don't fuck with anything. Stay behind the velvet ropes. But like you can go in.
It's our house. It's not theirs.
You know what? I'll give a pass to anyone who took a dump on Pelosi's desk. Me personally,
hot like a tamale.
Personally, outside,
okay with it. All right, I'm fine with it as long as you had corn the day before. Completely okay with it. All right, but like yes, obviously, but at the same time, it's like, how are we going to trust this media and trust these people that are damning all these people when we had a year of riots that they called mostly peaceful protests while fires are burning behind them on the TV. It's fascinating. I don't understand how people don't see that video and they're like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Nope. That's how bad they want their side to be victorious. That's the difference between people on the right and people on the left. We don't care. If you're a Republican and you've broken the law, we want you in jail. If you're a Democrat, you've broken the law, we want you in jail. Their mindset is, as long as it's the enemy, as long as it's, or what they perceive to be the enemy. And that's where that's the big divide that's happening with citizens right now. We just want justice and liberty. They don't. I have really gotten to that point in my life and understanding of who these people are.
Yeah.
When 50% of Democrats were polled that they wanted you thrown in prison because you didn't take a shot, that says all you need to know about their mindset. There's nothing else.
Look at me. I'm Hitler.
Wait, who was that? I never saw that clip.
It's Jordan B. Peterson.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan Peterson. Okay, yeah, it was quick.
So great.
Jordan Peterson. That guy's awesome.
Okay, so usually, Shawn, do you have any funnies?
Do I have some funnies?
Because usually we end the show with some funnies.
All right, let's see them.
I think the funniest thing I have, honestly, is the latest shit that happened with Alex Stein. Did you see it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have
no. No.
It's great. Okay, so I'll share it.
All right.
He went to the Barstool Sports headquarters in New York to go and confront Dave Portnoy because he was invited on the podcast, and then Dave Portnoy rescinded the invitation. So Alex Stein went to the headquarters with this homeless man, Darnaris or whatever, and were immediately
Targaryen?
Yeah, it might as well have been a Targaryen. This guy right here, and oh man, this gets real violent real fast. And
really?
just take a guess as to like which side is going to be violent.
Well, I'm going to say it begins with an L and ends with an F.
Something like that.
We're here looking for Dave. I brought my wife's boyfriend. Hey, I'm looking for Dave Portnoy. Come on, Dontarius. Prime time. Come on, Dontarius. I brought my wife's boyfriend in here. Come on, guys. Where's Dave Portnoy? Where's Dave? I'm with my wife's boyfriend. Where's Dave? Hey, Dave Portnoy, we're here for you. You invite on your podcast, Francis Ellis. Don't make fun of Tucker Carlson, Francis. Do not make fun of Tucker. Do not make fun of Tucker. It's prime time. Marshall, Dave, what are you doing? I brought my wife's boyfriend in here. Hold on.
Okay, so there's multiple camera angles to this whole thing, which is brilliant. And then I even have follow-up videos that go along with this as well. There's a footage from Barstool when they were recording a podcast doing this, and then there's also some stuff from like the girls who end up assaulting Alex. So
my God,
it's I mean, like this is like
I'll check that out. I'll check it out.
Hold on. Where's Dave? I just want to know where's Dave? Where's Dave?
Oh my gosh,
dude.
Where's Dave?
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit.
You guys can't do anything. Where are you at, Dave? I brought my wife's boyfriend. I'm not you little work. He's on your podcast and everybody. He's on yours. We got something to say about it. Where you at, Dave? Where you at, buddy? You over here? We're not scared. Come on, Dave. Where you at, Dave? Come on. We're not scared. Do it, guys. Do it.
Look at this guy. Oh my God.
Okay, they just hired him.
Oh, of course. Here's $20 and a Big Mac.
Here's $20 and a sandwich, and I mean, we're not gonna say this, but we'll buy you some crap.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit. Well, hey, however he spends his $20 is up to him. But I mean,
that's true.
$20.
That's true.
$20.
I would say invest in a bra. That guy's got some C cups.
Yeah, exactly right here. Brings this healthy professor moves on a bar stool.
They don't want any of them. Let's go. They don't want any of this. Stuck to a Are you scared, Frank? Come on. Come on out. Come on.
This is where it starts getting real interesting. This girl just pops out of the elevator like just magic, just like out of nowhere. She's ready to throw down because her big daddy Dave is getting some bad talk happening.
Of a drug.
We're gonna leave, but where's Dave? Where's Dave? Where's Dave at? Yeah, because he's a coward. Okay. Well, he invited me on his podcast. You know that. You know my father, Tucker Carlson. So tell Francis. You know, it's just funny because I got two angles of this all. I know you're so cool. You're just hitting my camera. That's so cool. All right. What you saying though? What you saying though? I'm right here. What you saying though? Okay. What you saying though? Oh, I'm so scared.
It's amazing. That would be a salt charge for any of us.
Dude, white supremacy is so real in that video.
Oh my gosh, how about it, right?
But here it comes. Oh, look at it. She's got the eye of the tiger happening like, right now.
Dude, it's okay. I understand, where everyone is equal, but I mean, you realize that if like 5% of like retaliation came back, they would both be laid out with one punch.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You can't.
And the retaliation would be the guy that goes to prison. Instead, it's ridiculous, and that's our society. That's the way things operate. That's our law. That's our legal system now.
If you want equal rights, you get equal lefts at the same time.
Absolutely. And isn't that fascinating, right? They want this, right? They want all women to be equal to men and all this other stuff. Then you need to handle. Would it be fascinating? You listen to AOC like, oh, they sexist. No, there's no such thing as sexism with you. How can there be sexism if you're equal? There can't be sexism. You cannot have that construct when you're saying that you can do exactly the same thing. So that means I can talk to you like I would talk to a dude. If I was going to get into a debate with you and an argument with you, I can talk to you like I would to any of these two guys. And you can't say anything about me being sexist because there's no such thing according to your own mindset and the way that you think. And it's like absurd.
I have like a basic premise. How about we just keep our fucking hands to ourselves?
That works.
Yeah, because honestly, like my comment after the whole thing, when I shared that tweet, I was like, oh, well, maybe Dave should just have Alex on the podcast now so he doesn't sue his Barstool for being assaulted by two employees.
Yeah, you got video file. Absolutely. Like, yeah, I got lawsuits coming. Absolutely. 100%.
So here's the angle from Barstool.
Oh, okay.
Someone getting booted. We had a homeless guy and a
all right.
Homeless guy and a vlogger.
Holy
fuck.
Yeah, love it. Get him, Ebony. Ebony. Ebony.
Notice all he did was enter the building and he got thrown out. Like
that's crazy. It's like Alex Stein is like a tall, like bigger dude. So it's just so funny. Like when he did like the Antifa, the protests, when he went up to the Antifa with like the guns and everything, like, they all try and like push him around and fuck with him. And they realize like, oh shit, like he's a unit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Yep.
Oh, yep. Just to top it all off, here's the girls that attacked Alex, bragging about it, of course.
Oh, she's crossed
that down on Barstool HQ. You got to deal with us, right? And you don't want to deal with us.
We the original what?
The real Mean Girls. The original and the real Mean Girls.
I'm just saying.
Jordan, Alex, where were you? We needed you.
I haven't seen you.
Didn't see you.
Wait, hold on. Pause it. Okay, so hold on. One thing, tooth gap. That's first thing that I saw. Second thing, who are you looking at? Because I can't tell. Because you're looking at 4 different people at once. Third thing. If you're the original Mean Girls and they have to go through you, why are you calling for other people?
Hey, that's a good point.
We didn't.
That's a good point.
Oh, wait, because you can't fight your own battles. You have to do it in group.
Right. I saw the way you were fighting. That's not fighting.
Yeah, no, that's not fighting. That's a distraction. And then, a little fucking quick slap.
Right.
And then here's a image they posted after hitting Alex in the face. Like, goes, oh no, my nail broke, and Alex just goes, I feel bad about your nails being broken on my face. How can I pay for the new manicure?
That guy is a next level troll.
Dude, it's great. Like, wait, Diamond and Soko, fuck they shit up for real. It's one of those things where it's like, dude, if you're gonna act like a dude, you're gonna get treated like a dude, and you didn't get treated like a dude, because anyone that would smack a dude like that, I'm sorry, especially with an open fucking palm, a slap is more disrespectful than a punch to the face. So if you get slapped by a dude, then that dude would slap you back. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
It's ridiculous. Thank you for ending this with.
Yeah, that was good.
Good laugh whenever you get some new Alex Stein.
That was good,
dude. And he's great. Like I don't understand. Like, I'm so glad that he is a part of the society of fucking all this craziness. It's
I agree.
LOL. LOL, that slaps. All right, we got another one. Hold on. I know some roll their eyes and groan about Stein's tactics, but it's about letting lefties know they can't target us because we have a different political opinion and not expect someone to show up. And yet, no, completely true. And also, it's like it's weird to say this, but now conservatives are the party of jokes. Because
we own the meme world.
Yeah, you can't fucking joke on the left.
The left can't meme and the left can't joke. They have no sense of humor. It's like when I watch them try to do it, I'm like, my gosh, you're horrible at this. You have no, like, it's horrible. It's fascinating. They cannot do it. They can't. It's like they're not capable.
It's which is fine with me because I am an avid watcher and I enjoy stand-up comedy and just comedy in general. So it's hilarious. It makes me laugh because I'm like, you realize this is like a Saturday Night Live skit, like, and I mean Saturday Night Live like it used to be, not like
Right, exactly.
90s, if not earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man. It's like I was saying before, the pendulum. The pendulum is swinging back, and I think it's great that we are here to witness it.
Yeah,
it was like
what a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's our vindication for having to sit through all the fucking safe spaces and fucking snowflake bullshit.
Oh my God, yeah. We were right the whole time.
It's great.
The whole time.
Again, thank you again for doing this, Steve. We appreciate
my pleasure. It was great
for the episode.
Yeah, for sure. To everyone in the comments, we thank you for tuning in to the Whiskey Capitalist podcast. Even if you weren't in the comments, I guess we appreciate you too. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, and comment down below to help out with that algorithm, especially since everyone's gonna, YouTube is gonna try and probably censor us for this one too. Let's see, what is it? It's hard for the left to joke when they know deep down they are the joke.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So make sure you go to solo.to/thewhiskeycapitalist to check out all of our links and ways to stay up to date with us. Go to bit.ly/thewhiskeycapitalist merch to check out our fully stacked merch store. We got fanny packs, we got bike shorts, we got shirts,
pillows, we got everything you could ever need.
It's great. And who doesn't want
t-shirts?
The main stuff. Who doesn't want Biden saying end of quote, repeat the line on a notebook? That's just too good. Go to solo.to/tildeathstudios if you need any digital design work. I'll get you handled. Me and my wife have a podcast that kind of started it all here on the Till Death Podcast Network. We talk about marriage shit, poop jokes, fart jokes, all the things you're supposed to talk about when you're married. And then also we have Shawn here with his shows going on.
Yeah, so solo.to for all of my links and socials and all that stuff. And then I have Sippin with Shawn Fridays 5:30 to 6:30. This week I might be busy with some other family stuff I got going on, so I will still have some content out for you guys, though, something pre-recorded, but I want you to still enjoy it. Tune in, check out my pre-recorded me.
All right, and so we also have stevelynch.us, correct? That's your site?
That's a site. Honestly, find me on my social media handles. At Twitter, it's Stephen F as in Frank Lynch, STEPHENF Lynch. That's my handle on Twitter. And I do a lot of social media, like posting lives wise on actual Facebook until they ban me. And that's at Steve F as in Frank Lynch. You can find me those. And I do a lot of interaction there.
There we go. We got it right here down at the bottom.
Yep, that's the Twitter one. Yeah, and then
that's the Twitter one, and Steve F Lynch is the Facebook one.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, I didn't want to put that on the description just in case you didn't want everyone having your.
Yeah, it's all good, brother. Hey, cool. Good, bad, or indifferent. If they like to come at me, it's all good.
Sweet, awesome. Yeah, and agreeance with movies. Thanks, Steve. Great.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Absolutely, guys. Good talking to you. I'm sure we'll catch up again soon, right?
Yeah, don't go anywhere. We're gonna do the end card, and then we'll wrap up off camera.
Awesome. Yeah. Also check out Movies America, www.moviesamerica.com. It's going to be our 4th show that we're bringing to the network. It's going to start up at the beginning of the year. It's a movie review channel. All of our jokes that we have on here, and our political leanings that we have here. It's same kind of thing. Think nerdrotic. Think all that stuff. So I think that'll be fun. Yeah, and let me see. Let me bring up. Where is our other? Sorry, I have too many windows open here on my fucking screen. All right, with that, we are signing off for the night, and we'll catch you next time on the Whiskey Capitalist podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.